What's good, YouTube, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be watching Bit's MVP performance from the Esports World Cup that just happened this weekend. This is Map 3 Inferno, and I believe he finished this game 19-9, which is just absolutely bonkers against a team like G2. So we're going to go ahead and get into the pistol round right now. And throughout this video, I just want to point out the high-level things that he does, the little micro decision-making things that you guys could take into your own game and improve as a player. So Navi are doing a basic setup right now where they basically just have one guy playing anti-flash along this mid wall. I believe that was JL earlier. He was just sitting against this wall. And the reason why he's playing anti-flash is if the CT's trying to do some sort of car peek, then obviously after the CT's flash, he can turn and kill and he's not blind. And Bit's just here holding car. He walks up into this corner, again playing anti-flash, and this is something that you guys can take into your own game, is whenever you have two people working banana together, one of them should generally always be anti-flash, because it's a high likelihood that the CT's trying to do some sort of early car peek. After maybe 20 seconds has gone by, and they know that you can be all the way up, sometimes a car flash just won't cut it for the CTs, because you can be so far up that even if everyone is blind, there's too many numbers to hold it. So this is only something you really have to worry about in the first 20 seconds of the round. And once you get up car, that's kind of when you have to switch your anti-flash setup to now one guy holding corner and then one guy playing anti-flash for corner. Because once car is clear, there's no threat of a deep banana peek. There is now a threat of a coffin flash. So here he goes making noise. He's just peeking the angles, trying to bait out any flashes from the CTs. And this is something as well. Nico used to do this in CSGO, where he would dry peek CT, dry peek front sight, and sometimes dry peek coffin. The reason why you do this is because you kind of have peeker's advantage on this angle, not necessarily because the angle is favorable for you, but the way that the CTs will hold it is favorable for you. So if there's a USP just holding an angle right here, then this is an easy pre-aim. You're peeking into him. You have peeker's advantage. You should win this fight. And if the CT is jiggling like this, then you'll just spot them on the jiggle and then not peek. And off of this jiggle, it's a lot of information. So if they're playing a player in sight and this guy's CT is jiggling, then you can just smoke him off. And this one sight guy is isolated and you can take sight. Or even if there's two sight, even though they have 3B, there's only 2 on sight. So you can just take the 5v2. And if the CT is jiggling and there's no one on site, then you can just walk in and you know that he was playing retake. You can get into good post plants and there will probably be some sort of flank because they're on an A stack. So that's what we're going to see Bit doing here is he's just taking some dry fights, made a little bit of noise. See, he didn't peek coffin immediately. And that smoke was extremely troll from whoever threw that because it goes so wide, it leaves a little gap right here that Bit can lurk around. All right, and because the smoke came from sight, Bit can assume that they're trying to play on B site here because you don't want to leave one player on site isolated and again play guy CT because then the site player is isolated. So Bit's going to try and search for the site kill. And I've already seen this pistol round, but something to notice is after he gets this kill, he instantly looks at coffin and backs out of the smoke. And the reason why is because he knows they're playing on site. If this player takes contact, he is going to get peeked some way at some point very soon. What the setup that G2 had was Nico is back here with a flash and he just held a right click flash that will pop right here. And he was going to peek off Manessi's contact, but yeah, Bit was ready for this. He knew that the setup was coming in, so he just backs out to a safer place. And the rest of his team is going towards A. And notice how much Bit has done here at Banana, right? CT smoke, Hunter did start Moto, and then he just rotated around off the CT smoke and the kill. But now that his whole team is grouped towards A, even though Bit really didn't do too much, he got one kill, didn't even go into sight or make it look like a sight commit. He did enough to bait the rotate, and now it's a 4v2 on the A site. Right, so now that it's in a 3v1, if you have a 3v1 post plant and you know that the last player is a slow rotate, you can almost guarantee 100% win this round if you guys play your cards right. So if you're in your own game, notice where Bit's going. Right? He knows the rotate's slow. He knows the rotate can't fight through the moto smoke. So he's going to get back into halls. And his job here is just to play bomb. He can literally AFK for 30 seconds and probably still win this round. He could just hands off keyboard, walk away from his PC. Because he knows his teammates are also going to play like this as well. His teammates are going to play extremely safe. They're going to play the time game because the rotate is so slow. And yeah, it's almost a guaranteed round here. So he drops out of halls and goes into sight, and he does this because his teammate has now came back around lane, and now he is the one who's playing safe in halls. He doesn't want to leave the sight guy isolated and then double up halls because this is still losable. Still not a bad scenario, but still losable. He thinks the percentage of a contact set up on site, and what I mean by that is Alexi takes first contact, Bit peeks off of him, is a higher percentage than two people halls. So he hears Nico coming lane. He doesn't want to take the fight immediately because, again, the longer you play time, the higher chance you win. He goes for the peek. Nico deletes him. But again, enough time is ticked on the bomb that this is still pretty much unlosable. See, Alexi takes a couple shots. He doesn't even want to take the fight. Again, he runs away. He's playing time. I'm assuming the halls player has next contact. Hit a shot. Nice. Yeah, and again, at a high level like this, everything is percentages. Everything is percentages. That's all you want to think about. So Bit decides to molly on halls, flash off ult, and so what it looks like he's doing is he's kind of a lurker on this team, at least on Inferno. I'm not sure how it is on other maps. I haven't seen Navi play in a while, but his job here is to just pass information to the rest of his team so they can go to the right bomb site and hopefully not run into a stack. That's why you see him kind of solo clearing halls. All the angles he's on, or like pre-aiming, are very common angles the CTs will be on. Also, he has a Mac 10, low percent chance the CTs get head armor. So going solo halls isn't great, but it's also not terrible. That's a really cool detail that they just did. They just... Who is this? What is it? Ema jumped up into Balkroom, and they double peeked Boiler. This is a really, really cool detail that they did. So if there was anyone in Boiler or double in Boiler, they would see Bit's head, and then as soon as they see Bit's head, Emo would come out of balcony and kill them in Boiler. Something you also want to note is when pro teams take bracket, this is how they do it. They smoke one side. Generally how this works is they smoke arch, and if the CTs trade smokes with them, so the CTs smoke bracket, then you know they're probably on an A setup, or at least some sort of bracket setup. That's why you'll see a lot of players when there's only two towards A or only even one towards A, is they will cycle bracket smokes to make bracket look scarier than it actually is. But Navi know this, so they're going to go ahead and commit anyway. Bit goes ahead and gets in, gets naded, goes back around halls. And once they clear bracket, there's no point in staying in bracket because what's going to happen, right? If there's A stack, then G2 will probably have a reaction for the T's taking bracket, which will most likely be, let's say, a lane flash and then, you know, 2 or 3 pistol swing lane. There's no point in holding this control once you've cleared it. You now know they're not on a bracket setup. This is enough information. It's not worth risking dying in bracket because it's not like you're going into the site yet. You don't want to just sit there. A little bit of a mistake here, and it's mainly because the app smoke confirms that there's 2 towards A. They've done no banana pressure for a solid 20 to 25 seconds, so you can kind of assume that G2 will be stacked here unless they full saved and stacked B. But if they bought into this round, everything that Navi has done in this round will prompt G2 to rotate A. Very little B pressure, a lot of A pressure makes a lot of sense for G2 to rotate. This hall smoke is essentially a done deal. If you don't get this kill going out halls, there's no trade potential and you're in a 4v5. So a little bit of a mistake there. So Navi ended up losing that round, but into the third we go. They go for a 4-spy, and it looks like this might be a halls pop just by the way that they're set up. No, actually it's just going to be 2 defaulting towards halls. Smoke on bracket again, because there's only 2A. They want to deny bracket as quick as they can so that Hunter can rotate along and then they can stop smoking bracket. This is extremely common. Flash on halls. Flash on halls, but Bit didn't hear anyone peek halls. So this is pretty obviously a bait unless the player in halls, you know, crouch peeked and just tried to make no noise. But yeah, very high percent chance that that flash was a fake. And again, they were only 2 towards A. But you also have to consider that by the time you realize there's only 2 towards A, that's when the A players will have denied A and the B players will have taken banana, and this rotate from Hunter would have come in. So even though they know that G2 started 2 towards A, they can't actually capitalize off it because by the time they have that information, it's too late. So smoke on halls again. So they were going to go for a halls pop. That's what it's looking like. Alexi probably has a flash. Yep. And he's going to pop them all out halls. And now that halls gets smoked, this is really, really tough because, again, you have no banana control. You're doing no banana pressure. And Bit made a step in halls. So, again, G2 will probably be 4 towards A. Flash comes over halls anyway. They try to force it out. Bit gets the first kill. Picks up the FAMAS. Amazing trades onto site. I think they only threw 1 flash. They threw 1 flash. G2 was on an A stack, and they still won. That is insane. And, yep, G2's just going to save. Bit goes hunting. Okay. Notice this Halls molly that Bit throws. So he's aiming at the steps right here. And he's making sure to break the glass before he throws it. He's throwing it off of this door, so it actually goes deeper apps. It's extremely common for CTs to go into boiler and jump spot alt mid. And what this means is if they jump spot alt mid, they're tanking the molly. If they go for the balcony peek, they still get ticked a little bit because it still burns this area. And it also mollies long haul push. So into round number 5 we go. He decides to not break the window this time because he doesn't have a teammate with him. So he just goes for the normal halls molly. Jumps in immediately. It's also important that if you molly balcony room like this, you want to jump in before the molly fades. Because while the molly is up, that means you can cross over here safely. And you can even peek on this safely because after this molly fades, it's pretty common play for CTs to walk up and hold the left side like this doorway balcony. Because a lot of players will try and peek it from up top. Sometimes they'll even drop down low and crouch peek this. But you don't want this fight solo when you are the lurk, because if you die, that means that this whole area of the map is a question mark. All right, that's why you see him playing it pretty safe. So USP's at banana, his teammates are just farming. And yeah, there's only one guy left, so he's just going to try and figure out where he is. If he's A, then awesome, you have B, and if he's B, then awesome, you have A. So 3 towards ult again, I'm assuming... Nope, his teammate throws the molly this round. Awesome molly, bro. And again, G2 are only 2 towards A, so are we going to see an early bracket smoke? Early bracket molly. See, and this is the thing. So it doesn't have to be a bracket smoke every round. It doesn't have to be a bracket molly every round. It just has to be some sort of denying a rush or denying information early. That is all your job is if you're 2 towards A, and... you need to do bracket pressure. You just need to deny bracket. Doesn't matter how you do it. You just need to do it. Take this angle into your own game. It's very common that CTs will also try and jiggle this and just spot. And if CTs try to jump up, or if CTs try to jump up late, yes, they can get into this little cubby without you seeing them, and you can get blind and everything. But low percent chance that's going to happen, just because, again, G2 have been playing on bracket almost every single round. It's still possible that they might leave, have a guy moto flash, and clear halls, but that means that there's only 1 bracket for the time being. So would you rather leave 1 bracket to check halls, or keep 2 bracket and leave halls open? Not even leaving halls open, just having guy hold halls. Probably this option. Oh, great timing. That molly's also really good. Wow, he gets out of that. It's also important to note his movement here. His movement is, like, insane right here. So, watch this. He comes out, he hears a guy lane. He instantly gets shot, and he doesn't crouch to control his spray. He crouches because if he crouches, then Manesi can't see him. Sorry, Monesi can't see him anymore. And when it comes down to it, this game is all just a numbers game, right? They had, what, 3 or 4 towards A? If you come out on top, on average, you're going to go 1 for 1, 1 for 1, 1 for 1. That's all you'll see from these pro games. It's super, super common. that they'll just trade down numbers, and then hopefully they're in the better scenario when they're in like a 2v2 or 3v3. For instance, if they were in a 2v2 right now, they're in a 2v2 post plant. So even if they didn't get great trades there, they'd still be in a favorable scenario. But because they got the extra kill and now they're in a 2v1, very high likelihood they win this round. Yeah, and Hunter even dies saving. That's insane. Normal molly on hulls again. It's also important to switch up the mollies that you're throwing, because if you always threw the molly that ticks deep long haul instead of switching it up, then if I'm a boiler player and I see you throwing this molly every round, I'm going to call for an alt mid fight because I know the balcony room isn't mollied. Yes, I'll tick maybe like 10 damage, 20 damage from this molly that pops deeper, but this molly completely denies the balc fight, whereas this one kind of makes it unfortunate for me, right? So if I'm a boiler player, I'm going to call yo flash overall, and I'm going to peek towards the balc room. So you want to switch up the mollies you're throwing so you always keep the other team on their toes. So he made a step in halls, which is something that's not like super terrible, but you want to be aware of the noise that you're making. What is that reaction time? Hold on. Okay, bad flash. I believe it was Snacks over here. Who was it? It was Monacy. Okay, bad flash. Very bad flash. I don't think Bit actually turned from that. I think it actually just went into the corner. But even so, crazy reaction time on turning from that flash. These are the little things that will win you rounds, by the way. If you're on that, if you're on default like that, you need to hit that flash. That is a free kill. The only way you're going to win a round like this on a save is if you get free kills like that. Yeah, smoke moto, reload. Again, 3v1, probably slow rotate because he wasn't fighting with his teammates on site. So pretty unlosable round. Just got to play time, chill out. Yep. Molly on Valkyrie again. Notice how he's clearing these angles as well. So he's done this about 3 times now, where he checks these little off angles that you can walk on this ledge and hold like this. And then once he checks these angles, he goes close and wide swings. And this is for a couple reasons. So if there's an opper right here posted, he's holding for the deep peak for someone actually trying to hard clear this angle. What Bit is doing is he's knowing that if someone is opping this angle or even rifling this angle, they're going to hold for the deep peek because it's extremely common for players to go against this back wall and peek like this, because the closer you are to an angle, the worse it is for you. The closer you are, the quicker the other person sees you. They will see you before you see them. However, if you're swinging it like this, and you know that the CT is probably going to be holding an angle like this because it is favorable for them, you actually want to swing close to the angle, so you swing past their crosshair. And think of it from Bit's perspective. If he swings and he sees the opper on this angle, the opper is going to do one of 2 things. Either the opper is going to try and walk back in and kill him, or the opper is going to need to fall away. The opper doesn't really have time to fall away unless he has a teammate with him playing here. And if the opper repeaks, then Bit can just hold, and then this is a pretty straightforward kill. All right, they're going to double peek long haul. They see nothing. Notice the angle he's holding as well. He's using this wall to protect him from any halls flashes that the CTs will throw. Oh my god. Yeah, he's just so ready for all these angles that G2 are playing. Yeah, the nade is also crazy as well, because if there's a player opping on balcony, this forces them to, again, make a decision. Do you tank the nade and try and get the kill and let it kind of distract you, because it is distracting having a nade in your face? Or do you back off, don't get naded, and then by the time you re-peek, Bit's on the angle, right? So everything that Bit is doing in halls right now is trying to force the other player into making a decision, and Bit knows the options that CT could make, right? He knows the decisions that CT has to make off of what Bit's doing. This is just a very like calm and percentage way of clearing halls. Everything he does, he knows what he's doing. Like, obviously he's a pro player, he knows what he's doing, but this is like perfect halls defaulting. This is like textbook halls 101, right? And because Monesi's on an angle, Monesi is on an angle like this, this might be an anti-strat. Like, he knows that Malbs will play close. It could also just be awareness, right? If there's an opera on Valk, then maybe this opera is playing like a bait setup, so he just goes for the hard clear on halls anyway. Yeah, they trade out. And again, because the rotates are B players, they're going to be super slow. This is pretty much a guaranteed round. And Navi knows that G2 will probably save this. That's why they're leaving the site like this. It's because they want to get ahead on the hunt, right? If Snacks goes to save, let's say he goes to cross backhaul here. Let's actually see this. Ema's going to hold it, and he's going to see Snacks crossing. Yep, he just saw Snacks' head. Snacks just farmed him. Yeah, there goes Alexi. And look at this. The bomb got planted maybe 10 seconds ago, and they're already in CT spawn close to, like, backhaul coffin. This is just, like, yeah, this is just good CS. Yep, they pick up the kill. So, and those rounds are super demoralizing to the other team if you win them, because not only did they try to hold the site and lose, they also tried to save and lost as well. So it's like you lose everything in a round like that. If you die when you were saving, you might as well have gone for the round and tried it at least. It doesn't make sense to you. It's very hindsight thinking, but you would have had the same outcome if you had gone for it and died, or if you had tried to save and die, right? So not saying that you shouldn't try and save. It's not what I'm saying, but that's why it's demoralizing, is because, like, well, we tried our best and it still was the same result as if we had just died trying to go into site anyway. This is another way of him, like, switching up his hulls defaulting. This is also really cool. So he goes for the Balk Molly again. He flashes. And it could also be a adjustment from him, because a lot of the times when he's taking hulls, he's making steps long haul. And this communicates to the lane player that Bit is instantly mollying and instantly walking into long haul and instantly clearing all of these angles, which means he has a lot of pace towards hulls. So this is something that G2 might try and catch out one of these rounds. If the lane player was hearing him make steps in hulls, this guy would be communicating, hey, Bit's taking hulls really fast. He's alone a lot of the time because his team is working B a lot of the time. So we could try and punish him, right? So he's just switching up his way of defaulting right now, playing really safe, trying to outplay, I guess, G2. And even if G2 don't go for a hulls fight like this, then awesome, right? He does the same exact things he did the other rounds. He didn't take hulls, but he's safe. And that's all that matters when your team is working the other side of the map. You don't want to die as the solo player. So anything he does here without dying is generally going to be good. Great awareness from him. So the rest of his team was pressuring towards B. I'm assuming his teammates called out there's at least 2 towards B. There might be an A rotate that was coming in. This is kind of what he was predicting, because if they were still double towards A, they'd probably still be double towards bracket. So he was kind of just hoping that they weren't in bracket and that Snacks had rotated, which he was right. But, or I believe it's Malbs that would be the rotator, because Malbs is the halls player. But yeah, he just read it really well. He heard a guy go into library. He's probably just going to walk up, try and get the skill when his teammates are going on sites. Yep, this is a free kill. Yep. Smoke towards Arch. Site still isn't clear yet, so he... Yeah, okay. It's clear now. So Malbs is still alive. That's why he's so worried about hulls. Malbs is the hulls player. They also haven't cleared hulls yet, but... if the hulls player... So this is something as well you can take into your own games. If the hulls player is still alive, or if any player is still alive, let's say... let's say you killed 2 people on B, but you didn't kill the B player, then even if it looked like they were stacked on the other site, still a higher likelihood that that player would be in that general area. Exactly what happened this round. Halls player is still alive. Even though you don't have Halls, with the Halls player being alive, it's still a higher likelihood, even if they were stacked on the other side of the map. So they go for the deep long haul molly again. Double flash on alt. It's also something worth noting is that because Bit is lurking in halls every round, he doesn't really use his flashes too much. There's the slide peek. He doesn't use his flashes too much, so he can kind of, not necessarily waste, but he can do his due diligence using util on trying to get into halls, because pretty much none of these late round scenarios he's been using his flash. He's generally been the one that is getting flashed for. All right. Oh my gosh, it looks like a halls pop. Okay, so when you're doing a halls pop, you really only want to do a halls pop when you think there's only 2 towards A. And when you'll do this, it's either going to be when there's 2 towards A or when they're on a lane setup. Because if they're on a lane setup, let's say there's 3 towards lane, you can jump out of halls, get into pit, and now this is your execute. You're executing the CTs from sight and bracket because someone has to flash over halls for you, right? So it's kind of a gamble that the CTs are on a porch setup. And it's also a gamble that there's only 2 towards A. If there are 3 towards A and they're in a normal setup, let's say they have 2 towards lane, 1 guy moto, then this is a little bit harder to hold. But this is such an ideal scenario. I think if Hunter was doubled up lane, this would be the best possible scenario for a halls pop. But this is still a really, really good scenario for them. Malb's just farmed. Holy. Oh my god. Okay, well. It was an ideal scenario, and then Malbs happened. Alright, Valk Molly, open the door, walk around. Oh, this is so smart as well. This is something... if you're a Halls defaulter, you should be eating up this demo. So what opening this door does is if Monacy was going to go for a Halls pick or a Rifler was going to walk down Halls, they're now going to stop what they're doing and hold this because they don't want to push further. If they push further, then look where they are. If the T peeks you, you're in the middle of nowhere. You are forced to take this fight, and you have to worry about a T walking in from here. So this forces the CT to sit right here. After enough time, if the CT was to go here and someone opened the door and didn't come, then you know that the T had to have been over here. And this just basically delays any push from the CTs towards halls. This looks like a deep arch smoke. Oh, this is a default arch smoke, actually. Molly into the arch cubby. Op is at B. Op at B could mean a couple things. It could be that they're on a triple B setup, or it could just be that they're, you know, double B. It's tough to read an op over at B unless you have information beforehand. Like, let's say you have bracket and there's an op towards B. High likelihood the op is kind of soloing it. You also have to take into account where the opper is. If the opper's playing front sight, then they're probably at least 2 towards B. If the opper's playing CT, then probably playing retake, because again, if there's a player CT, you don't want to have a player CT and a player in sight, because then they're split up. So if there's an opper CT, he's probably playing retake, and then there's 4 towards A. So it really depends where they saw Monacy here. They saw Monacy front sight, and they can assume at least 2 towards B. So it doesn't mean you can really do anything off of that information, because that means there's still 3 towards A, which sucks. But, yeah, bombs towards B, they have 2 people working towards B. And it looks like him and Ema are just trying to work A control, which makes sense. Now that they get Arch, this is insane. Okay. Some options you have as an A-lurk slash defaulter is once you smoke an Arch, this is going to do a couple things. This will probably force the CTs to re-aggro lane. I guess they're not in a position to re-aggro lane right now, so they feel pretty pressured. But someone has to deal with Arch, someone has to deal with lane. And you can kind of spot halls. Low percent chance that the Ts do a halls pop here because they were working banana so much. So the scenario the CTs are in is if they don't get lane control, then they're just going to get executed on. Which, yes, they have 3 here. It's still not ideal. It's not bad, but it's not like ideal because they have no space, right? So, but because they're man up, because they're in a 5v4, they can kind of allow the Ts to execute on them. This is the other thing I was going to talk about. If you're a T and you throw this in arch smoke, you can sit in here and just listen for rotates. And it will force anyone who's moto to make a decision. Do I hold the CT wrap? Because you could just walk all the way into CT. If there's anyone towards library, do I hold the CT wrap? Or do I try and like clear arch or like hold this? It just makes this player's job, anyone who's over here, really, really hard if you smoke this. Especially because they have no info on halls. Or on arch, sorry. Because this also means that Ema can kill the rotators as well. But this should be a... Oh my god, I was going to say this should be a lost round from Na'Vi, but Bit just got the opening and Ema's coming from Moto. This is... Yeah. Damn good backside guy. Oh, he saw that guy, Moto. Yeah, sold the smoke run through because the CTs are going to try and force it. Yep. Now you know the last guy's opping towards Arch. Reload. They can't really play time. They kind of can, but they can't really just because Monacy is so close already and the bomb just went down. So they're going to play contact setup, kind of like the one that they were playing on Pissed Round where Alexi was over here. On, who's this? On Wonderful's contact, Bit is just going to peek from back default. This is going to be a pretty straightforward round. Very low % chance they lose this unless Bit does that. Oh no, he dry peeked Moto. Okay, so now Wonderful's in the 1v1. He shouldn't have done that. That was a big mistake. Okay, he was low anyway. Yeah, that could have gone very badly. Bit should definitely not have peeked that. There was a chance that Monacy went around halls, but even if Monacy went around halls, Wonderful's still in a good spot. If Monacy went lane and killed Bit, Wonderful's still in a good spot. If he dies to Moto and Monacy's Moto, then Wonderful's actually not in a great spot because he's on top of the box. He has to make noise dropping off of the box. And if Monacy comes up Moto, then again, because Wonderful's on the box, he has nowhere to hide. He's forced to take this fight. And with bomb ticked that low, you don't want to force fights. So that could have gone really bad. Bit just made a really, really bad mistake. This was a lost round. I think in a 3v5 with no car control, no bracket control, this is pretty much a lost round. Super, super low % chance you win this from Navi. So it looked like Bit was trying to just catch a timing when someone had a smoke out or a nade out. Kind of just praying no one was here. They had a guy boosted on logs who could see corner, I think. So maybe he was just hoping there was like one guy playing corner and one guy sandbag. And on the sandbag guy's contact, the corner guy would have peeked. But this is a lost round anyway. They were kind of just... That was just a huge, huge gamble from Bit. Nothing to really analyze. But let's watch this last round. I think I'm only going to do the T side this game because CT side was pretty short. There's no way Wonderful wins this. Yeah, it has to worry about backhaul. All right, well, that's the half. So Navi came out 9-2. They ended up winning. And they won the game. They won the series. They won the Esports World Cup. But yeah, Bit was a huge factor. That's why he got the MVP. And you could just tell from that game, there's a lot of scenarios where he got kills where he really shouldn't have. Okay, bomb defuse, get off my screen. Let's just take this round, for example. Oh, I can't get this thing off my screen. All good. For instance, when Bit was coming up lane and he insta'd this guy sitting like bottom back site, this was insane. If he didn't get this kill, this round would have been a lot harder because they were doing an A exec onto 3 A players. It's really, really not ideal. Even if they traded down 1-for-1, the last player is still in a 1v2. And the CTs knew that Navi were doing this for a pretty long time, so the rotates would have been pretty fast. So yeah, I mean, Bit had a lot of rounds, like for instance, the opening on Halls, the opening over here, the opening on Pistol Round where he went B. He just was a huge opener for Navi this game, and I'm assuming for this entire event, because getting the MVP in an event like this is just like, I mean, you're playing with the best of the best. But yeah, an MVP at an event this big is just absolutely insane, and it's super cool to see Bit getting the recognition he deserves, because he did fall off for a little bit after he initially joined Navi, but it's good to see him back. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked this video, I do offer coaching on my Metafy if you want me to go ahead and do a demo review of you. I'll go ahead and link it down below. I also am live right now over on Twitch if you want to go see that, and I am doing demo reviews over there as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one, and peace.